Reactivity. Do you get reactive? Does your partner get reactive? How do you deal with it? How do you confront reactivity when it shows up? The short of it is that, yeah, we're all reactive. We all have a part of us that wants to dig in, doesn't want to cooperate, doesn't want to be relational. And how we deal with it, how we relate to that determines largely how we succeed and ultimately the degree of connection we get to have and experience in relationships. So this podcast Ryan, Ginn, and I are going to dive into how to face this very challenging vibration that we all bring to relationship. Let's dive in, Ryan.
All right. Well, if it's not clear already, let's make it abundantly clear. This is part and parcel of the human condition. We want to emphasize that you, as a human being, are saddled with, or kind of burdened, you could say, burdened by a very, some primitive like brain structures, neurobiological systems that are going to lead you to fight and react in your own for your own personal survival very quickly, and depending upon your conditioning, your upbringing, the environment that shaped you, you're going to be more inclined in different directions, right? Whether that's going to be fighting or just shutting down and leaving either physically or mentally, emotionally. This is what we all have to deal with, learn to deal with, right? So today we want to first off normalize that, name that, and then start to break down some different ways in which you can actively and deliberately make sure that this reactive nature that lives in you does not sabotage your relationship.
Yeah. I was thinking of my 8-year-old who will sometimes demonstrate this just developmentally. And one example of it is she'll be sitting having breakfast and she's literally, 2 steps away from the drawer where you can get a fork. And she'll say, "Mommy, get me a fork." And then, my wife will say, "No, get yourself a fork." And she's like, "No, get me a fork." And then Emily's like, "Juliet, get a fork. Get up and grab a fork. Stand up and no, get me a fork." And it's just like, it's the kind of a primal illustration of like there's a need and I just don't want to do it. I don't wanna. I want you to do it. I want you to do what I want. And I kind of laugh at it and I'm like, "Honey, get up and get a fork." And then she's just digs in even more, even more.
Mhm.
And I could give several examples of my daughters really around that age, kind of 7, 8-ish, where there's the beginning of some individuation and kind of sovereignty and a testing of like my royalty and regality and like you will bend the knee to me. It's really fascinating to watch and she can dig into it sometimes, like particularly in the morning, getting out of bed and bedtime. But every once in a while she just throws it in there. There's this little person with red hair and blue eyes and she's just fully in her queendom, It's
Mhm.
it's funny, but it's fascinating too. And when I reflect on reactivity within myself, I think sometimes, wow, this is something I actually suppress a lot. Like I don't allow it to come up to the surface. But when left unchecked, it is the breeder of some kind of deep subconscious resentment that can build up. And I had a dream recently where I fully indulged in it. Fully indulged in it. I was like saying to my wife, "I hate you. I don't want to be with you. This is not fun." And I had this visceral experience in a dream of actually embodying it. And it felt really good to feel it. And so one of the things that we want to normalize here is that reactivity is here. Reactivity is in our body. It's in our nervous system. It's in that 7, 8, 9-year-old part of our being that was practicing sovereignty and independence. And there's something good about that of being able to feel like I can take a stand and I can want things and have a preference, and that's allowed and permitted. And there can be something very young and undiscerning about it and not inclusive and certainly not relational and honoring of anyone but myself. So part of doing, relational work, particularly when we do men's work, or if you're working with a skilled therapist, is it's actually therapeutic to feel your reactivity sometimes and to indulge it and just have a tantrum, a conscious tantrum. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be married. I don't want to go to my job. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to brush my teeth. I don't want to do all the things that life requires me to do to, endure life. So we want to just honor reactivity first and say, yeah, it's okay. And it's actually really good to let yourself feel it sometimes. Step one. Step two is it's totally dysfunctional to bring into relationship. It it doesn't work. It's not useful. It's an indulgence in my own immaturity. And relationality asks us to do several things. But the first thing it asks us to do is to access maturity. And implicit in maturity is that Ryan has his own experience, his own history, his own conditioning and wounding, as do I. And I'm gonna actually labor. I'm gonna put in work to be inclusive of Ryan's experience and for someone who's very compassionate and empathic, which many of us are who are listening to this podcast, it's maybe a little bit more work to include my feelings and my point of view. So relationality does ask a lot of us. It asks us to hold the young parts of us that that don't wanna, that say, bring me the goddamn fork, and go, okay, I can see that that's a very young part of my being that, I can tend to. And maybe I need to go do a tantrum away from my partner or with a buddy and just whine, have a conscious whine session, but then come back when I'm able to bring some maturity. So that's my first salvo on how do we work with
Mhm.
this?
Mhm. Yeah, and just to build on that, I mean, you were offering tools here, right, to deal with this inner child, right? But not necessarily the sweet and just sensitive, um, little one, but the one that's like pissed that he's not getting what he wants, that he's being asked to do things over and over, that he's being given feedback all the time about how he's, not, cleaning the pan, the cast iron pan in the right way and all that, right? It's the one that has this anger, right? Really, like this fire of like I don't want to be controlled, told how to be. I don't want to be interrupted when I'm in the midst of, engaging in what I want to engage. I'm watching highlights of the Oregon game and you're coming in and asking me to like where did you put the, the I'm like I'm not right. It's this energy that is, like you're saying, needing to be actively worked with so it doesn't seep out, because it's just not how we want to live. We don't, I don't, I think, and we all should be like, should be, ought to be, a bit embarrassed when it seeps out in this passive aggressive way, right? Which is like, yeah, okay, I'll go get it. And she's just like, what? I mean, What I just I just asked you to find the charging cord and you're making it this big thing, you know? So, yes, so just to offer another tool here, which I think of as a bit um, maybe a bit more nuanced after you've maybe released and just given some voice, as Luke's describing through a conscious tantrum. Underneath it is your own relationship, like your own ability to validate and work with this energy as almost as a parent would, because most of us didn't get that, certainly from
Mm,
our father. I mean, it's rare to me that I see, someone who has a nuanced relationship with their with this part, this energy, this
yeah.
tantrumy energy that knows how to like actually meet it with like, yeah, you're pissed. You really don't want to be interrupted right now. I feel you, man. It sucks until it can feel like seen and like it's not being shamed or not being dragged. Come on, we just got to do this. And and then you're in this inner battle. So the work here, and this is what we do in much greater depth, right? Because it does require that. I mean, we're giving the broad strokes here, but this is a very deep psychological process, right? To learn how to actually contact and empathize and be start to be creative with this energy that's reactive, that to the demands. It's a specific form of reactivity to the demands of relationship.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, as you're painting that picture, Ryan, I'm experiencing with more viscerality how challenging it is to be in a body that I don't know if some of you out there have seen. I can't remember the name of the exhibit. I think it was called um, Body Wise or something, but I saw it at USC maybe 25 years ago, and it was up in Portland and Seattle, and it was an artist that had plasticized different parts of cadavers, and he took the entire nervous system, the vascular system, the nervous system, the musculoskeletal system, et cetera, and so on, and poured plastic through it in the shape of the actual anatomy. And when you looked at the nervous system, it was a massively intricate network, almost like a web of nerve tissue. And I was amazed that the nerves went everywhere. They innervated every part of the body. And as I reflect on that exhibit, I've been thinking about it the last couple weeks in in the context of relationship and feeling. And it has dawned on me, oh my gosh, to be in a body is to feel. And feeling is um is hard. It can often be painful, it can often be uncomfortable. And to choose to feel means that you don't just get to feel the feelings you want to feel, the sensations you want to feel. I'll be less emotional. It means if you open to feel, you're going to feel everything, the whole gamut of it. And when you feel reactivity and certainly the consequences of reactivity are generally some kind of loss of connection. Like people don't want to be around that. It's not fun to be around someone who's reactive all the time. And so when you're left being disconnected from because of reactivity, it's pretty normal to begin to feel shame. And shame is, I argue that it's the most uncomfortable emotion. It's it can really dismantle your sense of self, your sense of identity. Because of that, um, many people will tend to suppress reactivity because the fear of losing connection. primally, right? We're talking about our early plasticized bonding when our brains are most moldable as children. And of course, we need adults. We can't do anything without an adult as a baby, as a neonate, as a baby. And then we need them less. And then maybe 7 or 8 or 9, we can really assert ourselves. I don't need you. Bring him in my fork, goddammit. Um, but to begin to feel primally that underneath all that is this fear of losing our bonding, our connection. That's terrifying. It's a deep terror to lose care and connection. And so when we look at reactivity and shame, we're starting to look at emotions that are almost they're so young and they're so primal. They're not conscious. That's what I'm getting at. They're not necessarily conscious emotions or sensations. They're way in the background that we instinctually know we ought to avoid these, and yet they're there. They
Mhm.
are there in the system. And so we want to honor that when we start playing in this realm of feeling, it we're in the realm of fear. We're in the realm of losing what we want and at a deep level what we really need. And so it's a deep negotiation here that's happening way in the background of our psyche of like, how much can I test my caregiver? In our case, we're focused on deep relationship and marriage, but marriage becomes the adult version of, our love for our mother and father, right? There's this peer-to-peer relating, and it takes the space of what we had as a child. So of course, we're going to feel all that was embedded into us. And this is a place as we do work on ourselves and in our marriage that we want to step into with a lot of care and respect
Mhm.
because we're going to begin to feel parts of us that aren't very developed, aren't
Mhm.
very stable, aren't
Mhm.
very mature, in another sense.
Right, and there's no getting rid of them. I mean, this is
Yeah.
as you're laying all that out, I just want to emphasize that this is so much of your life force, right? This you could say this younger part of you that has a lot of unprocessed emotion, and they are going to come up in your primary relationship, in your marriage, right? That's how this works, right? The area of our brain that was used to attach to our primary caregiver is repurposed in our adult relationships. It's the same activation. So it's completely different from, not completely, but very different from our relationship with friends um,
Yeah.
and anybody else, right? So it's going to come, this is the opportunity, right? But it is quite the challenge, right? Because
Yeah.
it puts us in this bind between trying to like you're describing, trying to maintain the relationship, right, and not upend it with this cachet of intense reactivity, and doing what many men that listen to this podcast do, just please kind of keep trying to keep an even keel, not get too emotional, not in all that, you know but at the expense, because they don't know, the thing of it is they don't know how to actually to do what we're talking about, to actively work with this life or this energy, this reactivity, because no one showed them. But it's there, and it's being asked to to come out of the shadow.
Yeah.
It want I mean it is not, it's not probably how most men see that, right? But that's what we're trying to do today, right? Is to actually present it more as this opportunity. It's not comfortable. It's periodically scary, and it's um, a bit even confusing or um, the path is not clear.
And what you're pointing to, Ryan, here that's so crucial, we want to emphasize is that reactivity is here. It's in the system. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad about it. We're not making a moralistic judgment. We are saying though, it it will wreak havoc if it's not worked with. And so you have two choices. Either you work with it consciously, you turn towards it, and we'll talk about how to do that, or you continue to not look at it and stay in the kind of typical masculine stance of I'm cool. I don't have reactivity. I'm managing it. I've got it locked away. Or you nice guy it to death. Oh, it's fine. Everything's cool. Like namaste, love and peace and happiness to you from the infinite bounds of consciousness. I'm making a caricature of myself in some ways. Neither of those are going to work because you're not working with what's in the system deeper down, which we call the shadow or the repository of our pain. So working with it means first saying it's there and then being willing to begin to articulate it, to feel it and speak it in a therapeutic setting. Not being intoxicated and letting it out with a buddy at the bar before you watch the game, but consciously, soberly talking about, yeah, you know what? She really pisses me off, and I'm sick of this shit, and letting yourself have a rant about what is fucking annoying in your life. So that's the first part is letting that come up and out. Now the second part, which is which is also not active, it's entrenched or it's in the shadow, is you can't care for something properly unless you bring it forward. So this is what we get wrong therapeutically about things. We keep our pain hidden. We keep it suppressed deep in our psychology and our nervous system, that network of nerves we talked about. And then on top of that, without feeling it, without making contact with it, with our awareness, we will offer affirmations. We we will extol platitudes of kindness and compassion, of Buddhist aphoristic approaches on loving kindness. Way on top. It's as if here, like 100 feet down in the ocean, is this oil spill, but you can't see it because it's exuding laterally and down into a current. At the top of the water, it looks turquoise. You're like, wow, the ocean's so beautiful. It's like, well, that's the part you can see. And then on top of the ocean, you're sending these blessings and you're offering flowers and beautiful lays to the water and prayers. They do nothing. They don't do a damn thing. This is why I've gone all in depth work, shadow work, because the oil spill is down there and you can't see it. And I'm passionate about it because I know this stuff works because I live it and I teach it and I do it every damn day. It's like, no, again, the first thing we said, to feel anything is hard. And when you get down into these deeper feelings like reactivity and shame, good God, I don't want to feel that.
No, no. And to maybe extend the metaphor, I think your wife is the like the ocean trawler or something, like or whatever. It's like the the perturber of
Oh,
that whole ocean, right? And then it comes up and you're like, maybe this is the marriage, right? This is, it because it does, I mean, understandably, right? Because it does look like, well, it's, it's coming up with the greatest intent. I can go through my day and be, kind of rocking it and feeling pretty peaceful and jazzed about things. And then enter stage left, wife, and it brings it all up.
yeah.
but that is that is the opportunity, right? Because it is a way to then see it more clearly because you know, and we know men, and we've seen men like that can kind of weasel, weasel, so pejorative, but like kind of maneuver through their lives in such a way that they can even, you know, convince themselves and fool themselves that they are that top layer of the ocean.
Mm.
And you feel it in them. You're like, I don't buy it,
Yeah,
you know, because you know, there's more to you than that.
yeah,
And um this is our work, right? I mean, is to call that out, right? And I mean, and to invite. Not, it's not for. I mean, it's not for every man, but I mean, I think we're trying to lay it out as clear as we can that it though that it is the way to an actual sustainable, truly intimate relationship is to take it up as like, okay, like wow, something's getting stirred up. Like, what is this reactivity? How do I first kind of let off some steam, like you're saying, and then continue to get to know it, make contact with it through my awareness, with maybe the help of some other curious and bold, brave allies, you know, coaches, therapists, men's, whatever, wherever you get it.
yeah,
And then, you know, bring it to your wife
yeah,
in a way that owns it. It's like I'm
yeah,
working. I noticed this when, you know, when you came in and interrupted. There's another way. Yeah, when you came in the midst and asked for that in the midst of what I was engaged in, I noticed like a lot of reactivity. I could feel, you know, and then and you can describe it.
yeah,
And it doesn't elicit like a defensive response in her, or doesn't feel like she's getting some like unfair dumping of passive aggression. She's actually getting to know you more. Oh, wow, that's going on inside of you in these moments. I felt something, but now I kind of get a better sense of it. Like that's what we want. Like it's then it becomes a source of intimacy, right? And she actually becomes more relieved because she has been feeling it. You know, and she's been asking like, What's going on? It seems like something's going on, you know, and you're like, no, that's fine. No, it's okay. I got it. So we're
yeah.
changing that.
Yeah, we're changing that. And I love how you just laid that out because you just laid out this passive path of relationship. Here's this thing that's really hard. Here's what you do with it. And then here's how you bring it to partner. And really what you're describing are the skills required for connection. And this might sound hard. It is hard to some degree, but it's doable. There's a sequence here of how to work all of this. And if you put the sequence in the incorrect order, it doesn't work that well, you know.
Mhm.
So the sequence is very important. We have to kind of expose the wound, if you will, or expose the dysfunction or expose the stuckness, and then we tend it, and then we heal it and we share, and it does work. It requires something that you and I talk about again and again, which is the name of this podcast, Tough Love, the Tough Love podcast, and the name of our course, the Tough Love course. And tough is a euphemism for courage. It's a euphemism for courage. It's like the the previous definition of masculinity was like courage is to not feel anything, to bury it and have it buried so deep that you don't even have to deny it's there. You've lost consciousness of what's there. And so you really can kind of with some ability and conviction say I'm fine. So what we're saying is that's dysfunctional, but more than that, it's not relational. Tough love is the willingness to turn towards what's there courageously, courageously feel it, and then tend to it with care, which another form of courage is care, patience, forgiveness, love, kindness, softness, and then share that with the person you love. That's pretty much our recipe for love and connection. And um, it's what we're dedicated to.
Yeah. And if you could just listen to this podcast and do it, great. Um, I I know I couldn't. I mean, it's easier said than done. It's a as I'm sure you're getting. It's a visceral process, right? It's embodied, and most men are honestly quite disembodied, right?
Yeah.
Are living in their head, so they might understand. Might understand roughly kind of what we're getting at, but there is generally a necessity to get the get the support of other men that have walked this path, that are walking this path, that demonstrate to you what it looks like to stay with this shadowy reactive part of themselves and meet it, right? Demonstrate that kind of level of toughness, that tenacity to stay with it and incorporate it into their being, and then share it relationally. That demonstration, that encouragement, that inspiration is essential. So that's what we offer. If you want the kind of um, effective support and camaraderie to do this kind of work, please check out our website, beingmen.net. Various programs, and soon in-person programs to get to work, because it's not going to happen on your own. You can keep trying, right? But it we've tried, and it doesn't work out that way. I don't believe men are wired that way. Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and look forward to our next time together.
Good luck out there.